Hello, I'm Paul Zammit, and I'm delighted to be in our kitchen garden with friend and fellow vegetable addict, Niki Jabbour, and best-selling author of 2 books here. We've got the Year-Round Vegetable Gardener and the brand new groundbreaking food garden that Niki has just put out. Books that have a lot of inspiring ideas. Niki, where did the inspiration for the second book come from?
Well, you know, I think like most gardeners, I'm snoopy, curious. I like to know what other gardeners are doing and how they're doing it and what varieties they like to grow, and I'm sure you're the same way.
Absolutely.
That's all we talk about when we get together. So I wanted to know all this different information from 72 of my favorite gardeners from across North America and the UK. So that's what I did. I basically stalked them for about 1.5 years, constantly asking them questions, as you know, because you contributed to the book.
That's right. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
72 gardeners.
Exactly. There's 73 because I was one of them as well. I felt like I should include my own plan too.
That would be helpful, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, there's many fascinating ideas in here, and one I fell in love with because I love to grow tomatoes, although I don't like to eat them. I shouldn't admit that publicly, but I do love to grow tomatoes, is this tomato tower.
Isn't this amazing?
What can you tell us about it?
Well, this is Doug Oster, and he's from Pittsburgh, and he is just, I'm such a big fan of Doug's. I mean, he's an Emmy Award-winning producer and director of a documentary.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he writes wonderful books. He's got, great videos online, and this he learned in Italy. He contributed an Italian heritage garden to the book.
I got it earmarked. So.
Look at you, organized. And so this is a way to grow tomatoes and stake them in the garden. It's just a new technique to grow. They have lots of air circulation. The fruits can hang down. So it's a really interesting and unique way to grow tomatoes.
And what we're doing here is we're using indeterminate types.
Yes.
And they're going to be grown on an angle. And the great thing is they're warm season, hot-loving plants, but we're using the space underneath them right now to grow some cool season.
Exactly, especially once it gets really hot in early midsummer. Oh. and the lettuce and the spinach and the arugula is done. It's not going to grow. Mm-hmm. Growing things underneath trellises, especially like this, the little bit of shade just provides enough cool temperatures they can grow and thrive.
And what a way to learn to maximize. And yes. I personally find, regardless of the garden, I always run out of space. So really being able to get as much plant material, whether it's ornamental or edibles, in a space is key.
Exactly, and that's why these raised beds here in the Toronto Botanical Garden are great. And you've got each different one. There's 6 different plants from the book in here. Mark Cullen, Marjorie Harris, your pollinator plot.
Yes.
Stephen Biggs figs.
Yes.
It's one of my year-round vegetable garden ones. And so there's lots of, I hope, inspiration here. People can come in and get new ideas for their vegetable gardens.
Well, that's great. What other tip would you like to share from the book that's in the garden?
Oh my, there's so many. I think if people have a bit of shade, and there can be challenges in growing in urban gardens.
Especially in Toronto, we got a lot of big trees.
So, Marjorie Harris gives us ideas for growing in partial shade, including these wonderful stones that not only hold heat, but reflect light back to the plants. So it's an easy way to boost production in a maybe not so perfect space.
Did I tell you we recycled those stones? We found them and we made the best use of them.
Is that the royal we? You did that, didn't you?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And how smart is that? So
Totally.
It's not costing you any money, you're reusing materials, and you're growing better plants in the shade.
And we had a visitor yesterday who was looking at that, and she loved the idea because she could then be able to lean in, or if it's done at the ground level, step in and have something to step on as opposed to stepping on the ground.
Yeah, it's ideal. It's a checkerboard pattern on the ground, and you can perch on the stones to harvest, to seed, to do whatever you want to do with the garden. Yeah, it's just very easy, and it's very ornamental to look at as well.
Totally.
Practical.
Any other ones you would like to highlight?
Well, gosh, there's so many. Mark Cullen, he really concentrates on high value crops and high production. So anything that costs a lot of money at the farmer's market or to buy, you can grow them in your garden. Organic raspberries, gourmet salad greens, heirloom tomatoes. Save money by growing them yourself.
And I like how Mark also included some flowers in there, both as a cut and that very important lure to bring in pollinators, which was kind of a focus that I did. We love bees, we love insects here at the Toronto Botanical Garden. So my kind of take on the garden was, plant for you and plant for the environment as well. So I included a lot of plants in the garden that I thought would lure pollinators in. And just as you described, it's so key to lure in the pollinators because that dramatically increases your yield.
Exactly.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that one?
It's a huge trend for this year. I think it's the biggest trend. People planting for pollinators. And it's all because of you and the Toronto Botanical Gardens. Adding a few flowers, zinnias, sunflowers, things like this to your vegetable garden, it's going to bring in the good bugs, the beneficial insects and the pollinators. It's going to boost yield because you might have a cucumber plant and maybe 30% of the flowers get pollinated. If you can lure in more pollinators, maybe 50 or 70% get pollinated. So you're not doing more work, but you're getting more food.
fantastic.
So you want to get those pollinators in here.
All of these incredible ideas captured in these 2 books, but the most recent, Groundbreaking Food Gardening, which is available in our library, Canada's largest public horticultural library, also conveniently available in our gift shop. Nikki, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Paul.
You're wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.